G'day YouTubers, Bret here from Overtime Gaming with you once again, and welcome back with some new stuff on our channel. This time it's something slightly different than what we usually do. It's called Straight Talking, and this is the first episode of Straight Talking. Basically what it's going to be about is it's going to be reviews on wrestling and opinions on wrestling, and this week in the first episode of Straight Talking is a review on NBWA, New Breed Wrestling Association, a British independent company from Banbury. It's their show of 6 Slams of Summer on the 31st of August at Banbury Spice Ball Leisure Centre. Now in the morning, the early afternoon, they had Rising Stars, which unfortunately I wasn't able to catch. But I did manage to get 6 Slams of Summer, and I was definitely looking forward to it. As you see, I'm going to tell you a bit about it now. I've got CM Punk behind my shoulder. Yeah, that is the real CM Punk. All you doubters out there, he just looks a bit bigger on TV, that's all. And he's going to be my guest today. And I'm going to take a leaf out of his book. And I'm going to talk straight, like the name suggests. I'm going to review this. I'm going to give my honest opinion on everything. I'm not going to bullshit or pussyfoot my way around us something and turn it into a promotional video. I'm going to do a full review here. So let's get that underway. I was excited for the show. I had followed NBWA a while. I've done some stuff on it. If you looked at my YouTube channel, you'd have noticed there's promos and stuff like that on there from the last few weeks. So I went, got my ticket, all sorted, got there, bit of a buzz in the air. The crowd wasn't too into it, to be fair. The announcer came out, introduced everything, tried to get the crowd pumped up. Unfortunately wasn't able to, not for lack of trying. He tried his hardest. The crowd just weren't getting behind him, that's all. But he then announced the first match, and all of a sudden things changed. Now, the first match on the card was actually supposed to be the main event. If you followed him on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that, you'd notice that the main event was supposed to be a #1 contenders match for the heavyweight title, which is currently held by Al Ligero, a guy on the British independent circuit. And so the #1 contender match was supposed to be between Doug Williams, of course, former TNA star, and Styx, a British independent talent. And that was going to be a super match. Now, when you got into the building and it was introduced that that was going to be the first match on the card, the crowd were extremely excited and really got behind it. Now, the announcer then introduced both wrestlers. Didn't pay off well, to be fair. He made the mistake of not introducing them as the music hit. He didn't introduce their names. He just said, "and now coming to the ring," and then their music hit. And he left it until they were in the ring to announce them. Didn't work out, to be fair, and kind of backfired because the fans didn't quite know who was who when their music first hit, because other than Doug Williams, none of the wrestlers really are too famous to know them just by their music. It's not as if it's Randy Orton or CM Punk coming to the ring with their music coming. I mean, when Cult of Personality hits, you know it's CM Punk. You don't know that about too many of the indie people, so really they need to introduce the wrestlers with their names so the fans know exactly who's coming to the ring and when, and knows when they're face or heel, so they can either boo them or support them depending on when they're coming in. But anyway, Styx got introduced first. He cut a promo when they came in, saying how much he respected Doug Williams. Cut a face promo, basically. Good promo, good solid professional promo. And the crowd did get behind it. They respected it and stuff. Doug Williams was then introduced. Crowd went wild, to be fair. Doug and Styx shook hands, showing respect for each other. Crowd got behind them, applauded them for the respect. And then Styx and Doug went on and put on a technical masterclass. Now, both wrestlers really technically gifted. If you've ever seen Doug Williams wrestle in TNA or Ring of Honor or even Japan, you know that he's a good technical wrestler, and both men put on pure technical wrestling match, and it was really enjoyable to watch, to be fair, and I could have watched it for hours. Now, that's something that's unique to NBWA really now. As you know, professional wrestling as a whole now has gone for the American style, the high-flying style, the showmanship style, whereas NBWA is kind of stuck to the British style of wrestling, the pure technical wrestling, much like the days of when it was on ITV, World of Sport and stuff like that. And it was really enjoyable to watch as a wrestling fan. And if NBWA continues with that, I think they've got a unique selling point there and could really go on with that and appeal to a number of pure wrestling fans with that. Now, the match went on and the tempo picked up. The crowd got more into it as the tempo picked up. And we're starting to really get behind it. The technical skill of both wrestlers was brilliant, and you could tell both wrestlers were at the top of their game. Unfortunately though, it was stopped short because of interference from Kay Jutler and the filthy Chris Walker, one half of the Magnums. His tag team partner was not there tonight, but he did come down to the ring and both men interfered. Of course, Kay Jutler was the world champion at NBWA before losing at the last show, Home is Where the Heart Is, against Al Ligero, and beat down Doug Williams and Styx, and it just added a bit into it. It was then announced that the main event would be a tag team match between Kay Jutler and the Filthy Chris Walker against Doug Williams and Styx. The crowd really enjoyed it, and it was really something to look forward to on the match card, and really added to the match card too. Put Kay Jutler and the Filthy Chris Walker across as heels and put Styx and Doug Williams across as faces. Now, Styx and Doug Williams both sold it really well. I mean, there was one point Doug Williams was laying right in front of me on the floor, out cold, and I did crack a couple of jokes for him, to be fair. Well, my dad did, not me. But it was good to see, and both men really sold it well and added to it, to be fair. We then moved on to the second match of the evening between Sanjay Cortez, who's a masked wrestler. At Home is Where the Heart Is, he fought against Special K Langley and cost Special K Langley his mask, basically. Sanjay Cortez kept his mask. He put on a good show. He cut a promo before, trying to get the crowd to be louder, trying to get them to be more explicit, basically. Of course, Six Slams of Summer was more an adult-themed show, so fans could shout out abuse, could shout out anything they wanted, basically. And Sanjay Cortez tried playing to that, but he ended up shouting out boobies. Now, it was a funny moment, but it was just a bit weird to see, but it was a funny moment, and the crowd, especially the younger members of the crowd, really enjoyed it. And it did put across his character as a jokey face character, and it did work out well for him. Now, he actually beat Bunker Roberts. Bunker Roberts is this like rock star indie wrestler. He kind of looks like someone that would be in AC/DC or something like that. He's a big biker, basically. And his character was supposed to be a heel, obviously. And he got beat down by Sanjay Cortez. And it was a good matchup, to be fair. Nothing more than good, to be fair. It wasn't spectacular or anything like that. But Sanjay Cortez definitely showed himself off well. He did a few good moves and set himself up well for later on in the NBWA, whenever his next matchup may be. We moved on to the next match. Of course, the fans were quite happy with that. They weren't into it as much as people would want, as much as the promoters would want or anything like that. But as the night went on, they got better. Now, the next match was a bit of a letdown, I must admit. It was a Falls Count Anywhere match between two female wrestlers in Bacardi and Rebel Yao. Rebel Yao was this like cheerleader sort of character, and she was a face. And Bacardi was this heel wrestler who was a bit of a scaredy cat, ran away from things, backed off all the time. And it didn't really go down well. She backed off way too much, and she didn't really sell the heel thing very well, to be fair. She was a strong wrestler, don't get me wrong. She pulled off some good wrestling moves, but the crowd didn't respond as well as you would want to her. Partly because people don't know her. As simple as that. Unless you're a big independent wrestling fan, some of the guys on this card you wouldn't really know. Like Rebel Yao, I didn't know who she was. And Bacardi, I didn't know who she was. And I'm quite a big wrestling fan. But if you're a huge independent fan, I'm sure you would know them. Don't get me wrong. But that's one thing that needs to be worked on. You need to get talent that people know. Even if it's your own talent, like even if you bring Bacardi back again, because then at least you've seen her 2 shows in a row, and fans will know she's a heel. Fans will know they're supposed to boo her, stuff like that. And I just didn't enjoy the matchup too well. I couldn't see a lot of it because they were spending it around the corner of outside of the corner of one side of the ring. I couldn't really see it too much. But then at one point, Bacardi came running over to my corner. She stole my friend Neil's beer, drunk some of that, and then gave it him back and ended up spilling it all over the floor. So that ended up a bit of a memory to the match for me, to be fair. But it wasn't the greatest of matches. But as I said, Rebel Yao ended up picking up the loss to Bacardi, which is the right thing to do. The heel should pick up a win in something like a Falls Count Anywhere match. Hopefully that means Bacardi's going to come back next time and she can continue to build this heel persona that she's got for the fans, and people can continue to notify themselves and respond to her. Now, the next thing, Frankie Feliciano, who if you've seen my YouTube channel before, you would notice that he's cut a few promos on my YouTube channel. He came out to speak about his matchup next time in 7 Deadly Sins, the next show for NBWA. And that is a no DQ match, a hardcore match against Loco Mike Mason. So that's going to be a top match. He cut a promo about that. The fans really did enjoy that. And he definitely sounded very professional. He then got interrupted by Jamie Future and Damian Vane with their manager John G. I can't remember his final name, but anyway, Jamie Future and Damian Vane interrupted him and cut him short, and then were trying to take the mick out of him, saying how the Banbury crowd is crap, basically, and all that. Selling their heel persona well. It worked out really well for them as well. Their whole look, one of them had a hippie kind of look, and that was Future, I believe, Jamie Future. And Damian Vane had this just typical indie wrestler look. And they kind of looked a bit gay, no disrespect. And that was good for them, because it meant the crowd could give them abuse about something. And they played to that. And it worked out really well for them, and it put them over big time as heels to the crowd. They got a lot of abuse through the match, but responded to the abuse as well, telling fans to shut up, everything like that. And it really did work out for them. Now, Frankie Falesano then called in his partner, Joey Sanchez, who's a good guy on the indie circuit if you don't know who he is. And he played a face as well. He's already beat Jamie Future in the past in NBWA. And they put on one hell of a match, to be fair. Frankie Falesano did some good power moves, running in as the big guy. He must find it hard, to be fair, at times to be a face, because obviously it's easier to be a big guy and be a heel. So he must have found it hard to be a face, because obviously as a face you've got to sell moves well, you've got to show that you're getting beat down and then come back into a matchup. Whereas for a big guy that's hard, you're used to just running straight through people. So it must have been hard for him. But Joey Sanchez put on one hell of a matchup. He is an extremely talented wrestler, and the crowd really respected him for the matchup he put on. He was really strong and sold moves really well. But so did Damian Vane and Jamie Future. They sold really well in that matchup. And it put on a really strong match that the crowd did respect. And they got a lot of buzz around that matchup. Ended up with Frankie Falesano and Joey Sanchez picking up the win. So it was a really good victory for them. Continue them as faces, and hopefully we'll see more of them in Seven Deadly Sins. Of course, in the co-main event, as I said, Seven Deadly Sins, there will be the matchup between Frankie Falesano and Mike Mason in the no DQ match. So really looking forward to that one. If you haven't seen the promo, go check it out. It's on my YouTube channel. It's really good, and definitely go check it out. We moved on to the fifth match of the evening between Kirk Langley, formerly Special K, and Scorpion. Scorpion's an independent guy. He looks a bit like Justin Bieber, as the crowd gave him abuse for that. And really put him well. When he first came out, no one knew who he was. It was extremely quiet. And he kind of used that to his advantage. He came out saying that that's how I like a crowd, nice and quiet. Added to his heel persona, he got some abuse for that. Unfortunately for him, he didn't sell particularly great. He didn't show that he was getting beat down a lot more. And it meant that Kirk Langley had to do an awful lot of the match. Had to carry him a lot. But Kirk Langley put on one hell of a show, to be fair. He was really strong in the matchup. Carried himself well. His entrance to the ring was really strong. You could tell that he's been in the business for a while. He came out holding his mask, of course, when he was Special K. And respecting to Doink the Clown as well. And it was really good to see. His entrance was strong and the crowd really did like him. And he definitely came over as a face, whereas Scorpion came over as a heel. Scorpion kind of looks like a young Sting. Not as good though. But Scorpion got beat down during the matchup. The crowd didn't really respond to him. They didn't really like him. But Kirk Langley got a lot of good heat from the crowd. They did enjoy him being there as a face, of course. He ended up picking the victory on an Unprettier, which unfortunately was a bit botched. He ended up being dropped, which was no fault of... Well, it was kind of a fault of Kirk Langley. But Scorpion should have pulled out and restarted the move. But Kirk Langley continued it and did it quickly enough so that you couldn't really notice it other than from my side. If you were watching from the other side of the ring, you wouldn't have noticed at all. Whereas my side, we were the side of Scorpion, so we kind of saw it more. But even then, it was so quick, you didn't notice it that much anyway. So it was a good recovery by Kirk Langley. Scorpion should have sold it a lot better. But it was a good recovery by Kirk Langley. Another move in the matchup that was a bit of a disappointment. Kirk Langley dropped an elbow from the top rope on Scorpion. And Scorpion sold it awfully. He moved himself in the ring. When he'd been taken down, Kirk Langley moved him into the middle of the ring. And then went to the top rope. And as he was going to the top rope, Scorpion decided to move himself in the ring. Position his body in a way that you could be hit with the elbow drop. Which is what you're supposed to do. But he did it so obviously, it didn't work. And he didn't sell it particularly well. But Kirk Langley still pulled it off, and Kirk looked strong from it. Scorpion didn't. So looking for good things to come from Kirk Langley. He put on a strong showing. Scorpion needs a few things to work on, but he could be a good talent in the future. We then went to the main event, which of course we spoke about a bit earlier. It was the tag team match between Cage Jutler and the Filthy Chris Walker, one part of the Magnums. A good tag team, to be fair. That Doug Williams actually fought last time with T-Bone. That was an awesome matchup. And then Styx and Doug Williams were the opponent. Now, it was a really good matchup, to be fair. Styx and Doug Williams' technical ability was incredible again, and I could have watched them for hours. Cage Jutler, the male model, was good. He was very good, to be fair. His technical ability was very good. The crowd gave him a lot of heat, and it worked out well for him. The one I was really impressed with was the Filthy Chris Walker. Now, he's not the greatest of wrestlers, but he can just attract so much heat from his entrance, from the way he throws his shirt into the crowd, from his attire. It looks like something from Magnum PI, something like that. And it just looks like someone from Miami, basically, with this flower shirt and all that sort of stuff. And he's just so good at attracting heat to himself, and he was really strong. He fell on me at one point, and it gave me abuse, and I ended up giving it back to him, and it brought heat on him from the fans around me as well. It really worked out for him, and if he continues to do that, he could be a big heel in the company, and I'm really impressed with him. Now, Cage Jutler, strong wrestling performance by him. He attracted some heat, not as much as he would have hoped, but strong wrestling performance by him. Styx, absolutely incredible. The amount of good praise he got from fans in that matchup was great, and some of the wrestling moves he pulled off was great. And Doug Williams, we don't really need to speak about. His technical ability was great, and it was a very, very strong main event. Good things from the show. Really enjoyed it. It ended up finishing on that one with a dodgy decision by the referee, and that was because Cage Jutler pulled the turnbuckle pad off the corner and then slammed Styx, I believe it was, into the corner, and then rolled him up after hitting him with a bare turnbuckle, obviously. Rolled him up and pulled his tights as well to put more pressure on. So picked up the dirty victory, added to his heel persona. It really worked out well for him and should continue into the next show. And definitely could help him as a heel going up against El Ligero next time at 7 Deadly Sins. So I hope you're all looking forward to that. Hope you've enjoyed the first episode of Straight Talking. So stay tuned for the next lot. Next time we'll probably be speaking about someone like Daniel Bryan. So I hope you're looking forward to that. And peace out, YouTube. We're heading into overtime.